Peace and blessings. This is your brother Gabar. I think we got it right this time. Please like and subscribe. We're going live from the Boogie Down Bronx. Shalom, peace and blessings to all that are listening. And thank you, Brother Ricky, for letting me know that it was mute and it's fixed now. Give me a thumbs up if you guys can hear me before we move forward. Give me a thumbs up. Okay, I see a thumbs up. Okay, good now. Okay, it's good now. Outstanding. Okay, outstanding. I got to get used to this new system I set up. I kind of flipped everything around, and it's jamming me up. So I do apologize for the screwed up and the mess up, and that's what happened when you're a one-man show. But I wanted to come and have a quick conversation in regards to what's going on. Many of you guys saw the thumbnail. Who killed Charlie Kirk? And it's like, well, why Gabar's asking that question? Then we found the killer, right? Okay, but he hasn't been convicted. He hasn't been officially charged yet. He's going to be, I think, officially charged tomorrow. And we do not know if he's going to plead guilty or not guilty. We do know he's not being cooperative with the law enforcement. So we do know that. He's not, he's keeping his silence. I don't know what that means. So it's an interesting scenario. But I wanted to comment in regards of Charlie Kirk because, it's like, it is amazing now today that we have more channels, we have more access to information more than ever before in history. We have more, we could reach out. I could right now on Instagram, TikTok, X, see a video of somebody saying, hey, this is what's going on the other side of the world. And I could, look at it and find it and see it and experience it via social media on real time. That was never really a thing ever before in recorded history. And I'm saying that is that we have more information now than ever before, but now people are most misinformed than ever before. And especially with this guy, Charlie Kirk. I didn't agree with everything he said, but I don't believe he was a racist. There was no evidence that he was a racist. Yeah, he criticized black people and said that there's a lot of violence in the black community. There's some black people that will say that. There's some white people that will disagree with that, and there's some black people that will disagree with that. It's a talking piece. Clearly, there are issues with the black community that needs to be addressed. And sometimes people get a little bent out of shape when someone outside of their race is talking about what's wrong with the black race, and especially if you are of a European descent, right? Like I said, I didn't agree with everything that he said, but I don't believe he was racist. I don't believe this guy was someone that was spewing hate in any way. He was a Christian. He had a belief. He had an idea, and he wanted to debate it, and that was his ticket to fame. He went to these colleges and debated. When I was in New York with the church, there was towards the last, I would say, 3 years in me being GOCC, there was a lot of young people coming into the church, and people that started kind of like listening to GOCC when they were in college and kind of graduated, kind of came to the church eventually and so forth, so on. Brothers like Boston, Sister Jenny, and others, Boston's brother, his name leave me, so forgive me, I'm bad with names, but you had a lot of young college graduates that were reporting to us saying, hey, it's bad in college. Everybody's a lefty. They had done statistics that people lose their religion when they go to college in a high rate. And, we were coming with different ideas, and we maybe having I think there was commanding keeper Christians or something like that. There was different ideas we were coming up to try to gain the young people. So that's what Charlie Kirk was doing. He went to the colleges, had an open forum, proved me wrong, and it was a back and forth. And then he got killed by a individual that was raised conservatives by at least was his parents. His father was a Trump supporter. His mother's a Trump supporter. His father, I believe, was a retired, either he did retire or was about to retire from the police force. But he, after he went to college, he started leaning left, and unfortunately, he went radically left, right? I believe he had a boyfriend, so he could have been gay, most likely. If you have a boyfriend, if you're a man, that's most likely what it is. And the boyfriend who was I think they were transitioning into a woman, so that he was, um, I don't know what that about. If you're gay, if you like men, why? And then the man that's going to change to a woman, why you don't date a woman? But that's a different conversation, But anyway, um, but who killed and why? Who killed Charlie and why? Um, Conspiracy theorists is a name that I sometimes want to distance myself from. But this world forces you to become a conspiracy theorist, even if you don't want to. And I'm looking at all the timeline in regards of Charlie Kirk. And I mentioned earlier that I don't agree with everything that Charlie Kirk is promoting. But I believe he's sincere. And one of the things that I disagree with him in regards is unwavering support for Israel. But what I started noticing is that he was changing his view on Israel, specifically on Netanyahu. And so I want to kind of set a stage in a timeline, because this is the theory that I'm coming up with. This is my theory. If Mossad, Israeli intelligence, has been caught spying on Americans, and this is not a theory. There are cases that Mossad has been caught spying on Americans, whether it be individuals or organizations, having spies in America reporting back to Netanyahu and his crew, and so forth, so on. So it's not barred, it's not weird, it's not in any way strange to believe that perhaps they were at least spying on Mr. Charlie, or concerned, or clapping and approach or encouraging Mr. Charlie Kirk because he was a stark supporter of Israel. But what I'm looking at from my research, I'm going to show you some clips, that he was shifting. He was shifting ideas. And he was in a situation that if he would have continued doing what he's doing, if he would have continued in this, I want to call it, if he would have continued on this path, that he would have turned totally on Israel and exposed specifically what Netanyahu is doing, it would probably have been a situation that would not have been good for the state of Israel. And I'm going to go into why I'm harping on this particular situation, because dealing with the Thessalonians, 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, that prophecy, which I have never heard someone talked about. Well, let me reframe that statement. I don't hear much of the Christendom talking about when was the falling away first. When was the falling away first? When that happened? And who is the son of perdition that must be revealed before Christ? And we're going to go into that, and we're going to go into some scriptures later and so forth, so on. But I want to kind of show you guys first the timeline of Mr. Charlie Kirk and what he believed in first and how he evolved in his beliefs. So this is Charlie speaking about his support of Israel early on in his career, right? Fair use.
and the Palestinian Authority. I go to college campuses, and I've spoke at more college campuses than any Christian conservative in the last couple of years. Stanford, Berkeley, Brown, UCLA, University of Texas, University of Michigan, Michigan State University, you name it, I've probably spoken at major universities or states all across the country, from Montana State to Maine. And I am confronted many times by young Christians that believe that Israel is an oppressive apartheid state that basically should not exist in its current form. And so I'm here to clearly communicate to you that we have to do a much better job of communicating, of conveying, I should say, the geopolitical significance of the state of Israel. The world's a better place because of the state of Israel. We have all three monotheistic religions represented in the Israeli Knesset and the Israeli Supreme Court. Israel actually expresses freedom of religion. I'll never forget when I was driving down to Hebron last year, and you're driving down south from Jerusalem, and there's this sign, and I don't speak Arabic, nor do I speak Hebrew. So I turned to my driver. I said, "What does that sign say?" There was no English translation, and there was a arrow in the middle, an arrow to the right, arrow to the left, and the arrows to the right and left were red, and the arrow in the middle was black or some other not a warning color. And so I said, "What does that mean?" They said, "Well, if we turn right, you'll die." What do you mean you'll die? Well, if you turn right, you go into the Palestinian Authority controlled territories, and as a Christian, a Westerner, or a Jew, they'll kill you. It's like, well, what kind of ridiculous double standard here? If Arabs come into the Israeli occupied areas, they're given benefits and rights to vote. You go into the Palestinian Authority areas, Palestinian Authority controlled areas, you get your head cut off. That was a really interesting moment for me.
Obviously, that was a lie, but he at that time he was a pro-Israel. So come to kind of show you guys that most people view he was an Israel shield. He's being paid off by Israel. I don't believe he was being paid off by Israel, and I don't believe he was a shield. However, he actually believed the Western European evangelical kind of believed that we must support Israel at all costs because God commanded. I believe he believed that wholeheartedly, but I believe there was a shift, right? So I want to go into some other conversation because now we're going to start seeing a shift. We're going to start seeing a shift in his expression and his concern about Israel. And matter of fact, let's go here. Let me go here to kind of give you guys a timeline. This is Charlie Kirk, and he's having a debate. The guy on the left is with I believe he's my left, your right, is with the blue shirt. That's Dave Smith, right? And the other guy is Harsh Hammer. He's a pro-Israel individual. Obviously, you can see his yarmulke. He's Jewish, and he's pro-Israel, and they're having a debate. This is the first time that Charlie Kirk, that I have seen, that he even brought in someone who disagreed with this whole argument, and he wanted to kind of have a fair conversation. I believe this debate was the turning point that Israel became concerned about Charlie, and then they began to, because I'm going to go into today that there is rumors and there's people that are talking about that there was conversation between him and Israel, meaning him being Charlie and Israel being Netanyahu, about things he should not say, people he should not platform. They were trying to basically control him. And I believe they should have left him alone, because once they began to intervene and suggest, and even try to, I believe they were trying to donate $80 million to his organization, Turning Point. That's not pennies. That's a lot of money. And he refused, or he turned him down, right? So let's hear a little bit about this debate. And this is Dave Smith responding to the Zionist failures.
Problem with what seems to be a masterclass in 12 days, in, out, no problem, no U.S. troops, we've kind of moved on. What would your problem with that be?
I think, and I do think there's something really sick and poisoning about this, is that our country has become so addicted to war that if we launch a war and you go, well, hey, it wasn't a complete catastrophe. I mean, 1 million people didn't die in this one, like in Iraq, or hundreds of thousands didn't die in this one, like in Afghanistan or Libya or Syria. It's like, okay, look, people died in this war, okay? There were both Iranian civilians and Israeli civilians who died in this war, which is a terrible thing for them and their families. This was a catastrophe. And my point is that the war never needed to be launched to begin with. But there's no reason why we even have to be enemies with Iran.
And for the record, Dave Smith is actually Jewish himself. He's a liberal Jew. He's not a religious Jew. He's actually a comedian, and he has a podcast, and he's become very famous. But he is exposing, and he's a stark critic of Israel. And he said we have to stop supporting Israel. We have to stop sending them money. And Israel is America is responsible for creating the state of Israel, which he believes is a axis of evil, if you will, right? So I want to play more videos because I think to show the shift, right? So this is after. Matter of fact, let me go here. Because this is now Dave Smith speaking to another podcast or another influencer, Sneeko, about what happened after the debate, the conversation he had with Mr. Charlie Kirk, right? Fair use.
He's kind of like, wavering a little bit on his support to Israel.
Yeah.
And I did talk.
Let me do this stuff in the beginning for you. I'm sorry. Okay.
Heard rumors that like, ooh, Charlie's kind of like, wavering a little bit on his support to Israel.
Yeah.
And I did talk to him for like about an hour before the debate. And we started right away talking about like thinkers and books and this and that. And so as soon as we start talking about it, I'm already like, all right, Charlie, so you know what it is already, dude, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know that the fucking Likud party got us into the last 7 wars. So what the fuck are we talking about here? And then he would kind of just like laugh and chuckle. And like, look, wait, and he'd go, he goes, look, I know what you mean. He goes, and then he would say something like, he'd be like, look, I'm a Christian man, and it's really important to me that we preserve these holy sites and that they be under the control of Western civilization. Mm-hmm. And then I'd be like, yeah, but like, couldn't we maybe find a happy medium between that and genociding all the people in the surrounding areas? Like, do we have to do both? I had heard rumors.
So this is Dave Smith kind of having a conversation about his experience with the debate that I showed earlier. And he was saying, yeah, this guy Charlie, he knows what's going on. So I believe Charlie began to have a shift. I believe he was independent. I think he was a self-made man. I think, he believed in his ideology. I believe he did. I don't believe that he was controlled by nobody. And I'm not prepared to say that I know for sure that Mossad had something to do with his death. But there's a lot of suspicious rumors going on. And we're going to go into that rabbit hole today, right? So I want to play more videos because I want to set the stage. And when he began to kind of shift and ask questions. Right? Fair use.
If Bibi Netanyahu, if he does something I don't like, and if I criticize it, am I like a bad Christian?
Absolutely not.
What I find strange is that we're able to criticize the American government sometimes in the Christian world with more freedom than the Israeli government. To be pro-Israel means you believe in the nation of Israel, not necessarily the government of Israel. When Joe Biden was president, you and I we loved America, but we detested our government. And those two things beautifully coexisted.
Yeah, you never once said, "Hey, I'm out on
America."
On
of
America,
course it was the opposite.
Exactly.
And what they don't want is they don't want to be called bad Christians if they challenge a foreign government, which is what happens so often.
Right.
Like, you're a bad Christian if you have a question about a foreign government.
Right.
That creates backlash that I don't think people understand. If Bibi
Right. So we could see his evolution. And this is him on Megyn Kelly's show a few weeks back, actually a month ago. And after he brought in Dave Cook because Dave Cook is their Achilles heel. He's Jewish. He's, a liberal Jew, New York comedian, culturally very Jewish, and he is, exposing and shedding light on the evil genocide behavior of Netanyahu. This guy's a lunatic. He has to be removed. He's not even good for Jewish people, right? I don't believe they're the real descendants of Israel to begin with. That's a different conversation. But let's put that aside. Jewish people. Netanyahu is hurting you guys. He's not helping you guys. But maybe this is the beginning of the son of perdition being revealed. That must be revealed before the second coming. So let's see some more in regards of Mr. Kirk talking about the backlash he's getting from Israel for even questioning certain things. Fair use.
Now, let me first say, I don't want to judge an entire group because there's been many people in the pro-Israel world that have been very sweet, very kind, very nuanced, very Charlie. You're with us. You don't have to agree all the time. However, and I will say this, the behavior by a lot, both privately and publicly, are pushing people like you and me away. Not like we're going to be pro-Hamas, not like we're going to, but we're like,
and this is what's happening. Israel always never had the left. The lefties was always Israel is, a bad, they have to come down with the genocide. They were not really pro-Israel. It was always the right, specifically the Christian right. And they're losing them. And they lost a major opponent with Mr. Kirk. And sometimes a man's message becomes more powerful after he dies. They become more infamous. When Christ left his disciples, there was only 130 of his disciples. The church grew and Christ's name became infamous and famous and known worldwide after his death. So, is God using these type of scenarios to bring certain things to life? And that's the conversation we want to have tonight, right? Fair use.
Honestly, the way you are treating me is so repulsive. I have text messages, Megan, calling me an anti-Semite. I am learning biblical Hebrew and writing a book on the Shabbat. I honor the Shabbat, literally the Jewish Sabbath. I visit Israel and fight for it.
And that's another thing too. I don't know if you guys know this. He began to worship the Shabbat. He had his reason for it, and I believe that if he would have still been alive, who knows what would have happened? What shift? What kind of conversation there would have been within the Christian community in regards of that, right? But you could see in his face his frustration with the Israeli government, specifically the Netanyahu clan, right? And how disgusted he is with them or was with them, and he's expressing this frustration, right? So let's just continue listening.
There's another article out in the Times of Israel today. I could read it on air. I was just reading before I got on. Charlie, what are you doing? Like, what am I doing? I'm sorry. Like, let's just take a step back here. Like, I'm an American citizen. Yes, I want Israel to win. Yes, I'm a Christian. But like some of the mess, and you've seen how I've been treated, Megan, by some, not all, by some.
No, it's very irritating.
It's
been
almost
so
as if
unfair. They were coming after you after Turning Point for, among other things, that you had Dave Smith there. Dave Smith is allowed to criticize Israel. You had both sides. The Israeli side was overrepresented.
Though. No, you're not allowed.
So you can see that frustration is happening on the right. So the Israeli government, the Netanyahu Israeli government, is losing the right. Is losing the right. And I think they're being exposed. And this is the reason why I'm harping on this. If I'm right, if my theory is right, that the son of perdition mentioned in the Bible, that he must be revealed. If the son of perdition are what the small hats, the Netanyahu of the world, there is going to be then a gap. There's going to be a question after that answer is given. Oh, who's the son of perdition? Who is the one that must be revealed before the second coming, that he sits in God's throne as he is God? Oh, the small hats? They're not the real Jews? They're the son of perdition? You know what questions are going to come up after this? Who are the real Jews? Where are they today? So by exposing who they really are and who they're not, is going to also reveal who are the children of God. And I think this is what we're seeing this in real time. Right? Fair use.
It's even worse than that. Again, I just want to repeat for the 5th time. I love Israel. I want Israel to win. But my moral character is now being put into question, Megan. Not my decisions. Not like, hey, are you doing this? Is it smart or is it dumb? But no, I am a bad person if I do this. And I could go, you saw it, Megan. It was trending on Twitter, thousands of tweets and text messages. And if I were to be charitable and generous, I will say the people that are attacking me are in a hyper paranoid state because they're at war, and war tends to make things black and white, and you're a hammer looking for a nail. So I'm trying to be charitable, Megan. Literally, I'm trying to cut as much slack as I can, right? They go, okay, what would it be like if all of a sudden I'm starting to see a pattern of behavior similar to what my grandparents saw in 1930s Germany online? How would I behave? So that's like my charitable kind of over.
And you guys could listen to the rest of and they killed him, right? Hopefully they found the guy, and the guy he's the guy who they arrested is actually the guy who killed him. All the evidence is pointing to that. However, though, there are some concerns that I have in regards of footage that is not adding up, and we're gonna address in a few minutes. But I also want to address that there are a lot of influencers and people that are within the government saying, hey, there is some rumor, there are some sources that saying that Mossad and the Israeli intelligence had a hand in the assassination of Charlie Kirk. That's what I'm just reporting the news. I'm not saying that is true. I'm just saying this is what is out there in the ether, right? So let's play some videos in regards of this conversation, because this is what's out there in the ether. Fair use.
Know that Charlie had told friends in recent weeks that he feared that Israel was going to kill him. Those are Charlie's words to friends, not mine, because his views on what has been transpiring in Gaza as the genocide has unfolded has evolved significantly from where he was months ago, apparently, according to friends that knew him well. So why was he wearing body armor? I mean, I guess just sort of any protection in an event like this would make sense, right? But he was telling friends that he actively thought he was going to be killed. Something to consider. We don't know more than that on that piece of it yet, as the story still evolves. Why was Charlie Kirk wearing body armor? And of course, the way that the bullet hits him, you can see it clearly bouncing right off. It was a kill shot aimed right for his heart to hit his aorta. But you don't shoot someone in the head. That's for the movies. You shoot for the heart because any professional would do it that way. So Charlie was wearing body armor. It deflects the bullet up, hits him right in the neck, and kills him.
So did Israel have something to do with it? I don't know, but this is what's out there. Let's see another influencer and see what's going on these days. Is that this particular individual that let me go back over here. I believe he used to work for CNN at one point, then Fox News, so he's a journalist. But what's happening now, because of social media, journalists are independently investigating things. They're now independent. They don't work for someone. They work for themselves. and now they'll let loose with no control. And influencers like this guy, he's talking about the same thing. This is Charlie Kirk, right? Saying, well, this is Harrison Smith. He's also another influencer saying that I'm not going to name names, but I was told by someone close to Charlie Kirk that Charlie thinks Israel will kill him if he turns against them. Fair use.
I go against Israel, I think they will kill me.
And when did he say this?
This was August 13th.
So less than a month ago.
I can see Charlie over the last few months sort of take in new information and have his mind shift a little bit, right? He used to be an Israeli loyalist. Then he starts to sort of mildly criticize Israel and that, hey, I don't think, we shouldn't be allowed as an American to question the acts of a foreign government.
I have text messages, Megan, calling me an anti-Semite. I have less ability sometimes online to criticize the Israeli government about backlash than actual Israelis do. Mm-hmm. And that's really, really weird, isn't it, Megan?
And he publicly said, hey, maybe Epstein was Mossad. He certainly had a lot of connections to Israeli ex-prime ministers.
And there's also this clip where he questions how October 7th happened.
Was there a stand down order? 6 hours? I don't believe it. Israel's the size of New Jersey. When I took a helicopter ride from Jerusalem to the Gaza border, it's 45 minutes. 6 hours. They're live streaming the killing of Jews. Did somebody in the government say stand down? That is a legitimate, non-conspiracy question.
I mean, this is a big problem for Israel. Charlie Kirk was maybe the most influential figure on the right, especially with people under the age of 30. Mm-hmm. And when you start to have somebody that influential as a conservative is say, hey, we need to maybe reassess this relationship. There's something weird going on. This is a warning to people in the media to say, hey, you need to stop this right now because you could be next.
So that's what's going on.
I know it's way too soon to even talk about something like this, but I think the American public.
Right. That's what's going on in the ether. That's the rumor. That's what's going on. Right. I just want to play all the videos on his evolution, right? How he began to turn, how he began to say, we have to start questioning what's going on. And I put the link below, Brother Rick, if you want to come in or anybody wants to come in, you're more than welcome. If you have a different point of view, I want to hear it, right? Fair use.
So I've been to Israel many times. The whole country's a fortress. When I first heard this story, I still have the same gut instinct that I did initially. I find this very hard to believe. I've been to that Gaza border. You cannot go 10 feet without running into a 19-year-old with an AR-15 or an automatic machine gun that is an IDF soldier, right? The whole country is surveilled. And so let me just kind of go through this. We don't talk about Israeli politics very often, and most Americans don't know this. The last 9 months, Israel was on the brink of civil war. It's not an exaggeration. This judicial stuff, they were.
And that's what I believe they don't want to expose. They don't want to expose Americans to what was really going on in Israel before this attack by Hamas. What's going on now? The largest protest in history is happening in Israel against the prime minister. Don't you think that should be front page news? That's why I'm questioning what really happened.
Hundreds of thousands of Israelis taking to the streets because Bibi Netanyahu is basically redefining the Israeli constitution. That's not an exaggeration, right? He said the judicial branch has too much power. There were protests planned this week against Netanyahu, where they anticipated tens of thousands of people to take to the streets. That's all gone, Patrick. Netanyahu now has an emergency government and a mandate to lead. I'm not willing to go so far that saying that Netanyahu knew or there was intelligence here, but I think some questions need to be asked. Was there a stand down order? Was there a stand down order? 6 hours? I don't believe it. Israel's the size of New Jersey. When I took a helicopter ride from Jerusalem to the Gaza border, it's 45 minutes.
Wow.
6 hours. They're live streaming the killing of Jews. Did somebody in the government say, stand down? That is a legitimate, non-conspiracy question.
So that's what's going on. And that's
how did these guys not know this was taking place?
So I've been to Israel many times. The whole country's
right. How? And I'm just going down the pipe. I'm just going down the pipe of all these videos. I'm trying to compress. Cause I've seen all these interviews, in length. So, but I want to get to the boiling point so I could, trust me, it is in the proper context. I'm not embellishing anything in regards of context. This is a concern. Even our own CIA agents or CIA folks that work for the CIA don't even trust Israel. This is an ex-CIA agent talking about how he never trusts Israel. Fair use.
When I went on a tour to Bahrain, the guy I sat next to at headquarters and his wife went on a tour to Jerusalem. They were absolutely lovely people. Husband and wife tandem team. They were declared to the Israelis. So the Israelis knew that they were CIA officers and they went to Jerusalem for a 2-year assignment, not to work against the Israelis. We don't work against the Israelis. So when they arrived, the chief took them to Mossad and said, you already know them, but now they're going to be here for 2 years. She's going to work on Palestinian issues and he's going to take Arabic classes at the university. Easy. So they're there for a few weeks. The ambassador has a welcome party for them. And they go back to their house after the party and all the living room furniture had been rearranged while they were gone. And they're like, okay, the Israelis break into the house. We get it. It's your country. All right. You don't have to be jerks about it. That December, they go to a Christmas party at the ambassador's residence. And when they get back to the house, people had taken shits in all their toilets and left it unflushed.
What?
Yeah. Why? It's just an intimidation thing. They do their 2 years there. The ambassador has a going away party for them. They drive back home. And when they get home, the dog is whimpering under the dining room table. Somebody had cut his tail off and wrapped it in gauze and medical tape. Like, why? So when this happens, and it happens all the time, we have to go to the Israelis and say, stop harassing our people.
What percentage of guys you work with didn't trust Mossad?
100%. I'll give you another example. So when I went on a tour to Bahrain, the guy I sat next to at headquarters and his wife went on a tour to Jerusalem.
So
they were absolutely.
So this is ex-CIA saying how, and when you hear the entire interview, right? He said that they never allowed any Israeli representative to come into the Pentagon because they used to come in with gifts. Gifts, but they used to have tracking and listening device on these so-called gifts. So they didn't, it was a conscious thing. So this is no longer a conversation of conspiracy theory anymore. But what I want to focus on specifically is the Christian community. Are you guys watching this? Are you guys waking up like, Mr. Charlie Kirk and realize that these people are the synagogue of Satan? Who are the synagogue of Satan? Who is the son of perdition mentioned in the Bible? Why is nobody talking about this? We need to ask these tough questions. I believe Charlie Kirk was evolving. I think he was evolving and I think he was independent. And one of the things that the few things that I disagree with him, and the top one was his unflinching support for Israel. Right? That began to shift. So what would have happened if he would have still been, he was just getting more popular. People are mourning him and having memorials and painting murals on his honor all over the world. He would have been a threat, an independent threat. He could have run for office in a few years, but it took him out. Fair use.
The Sabbath will change the world, basically. And it is an argument.
Okay, let's do this from the beginning. Fair use, I'm sorry.
The Sabbath will change the world, basically.
He's saying if everybody keeps the Sabbath, it will change the world, basically.
And it is an argument that in this hyper-materialistic, very fast, digitally frenzied world, that there is this gift that I believe the Lord gave the Hebrews that we have decided to just gloss over. And it's very simple. It's that for one day you will stop, that it will be holy, that it will be different. For those of you that are agnostic or not Christian, I still encourage you to do this. People that honor the Sabbath live longer. We know this with the Seventh-day Adventists. They actually are happier. They have better health outcomes. Everything about disconnecting from modernity is good for you. It is inarguable. Like this is a material fact. But why is it that we have forgotten it? Well, for me personally, I worked like crazy for 6 days. On Friday night, even Sunday morning, I turn my phone off and I try to stop. I try to make it distinct. I try to make it different. It's where I do my best thinking. It's where I do my best time with my family. And again, this kind of goes back to, okay, we're trying to create all this new stuff. Like, wow, we're going to have this new technological innovation. We're going to have this vaccine, and we're going to be able to solve this with quantum mechanics and quantum computing. And I'm kind of like, honestly, something was told to us on Sinai that we shouldn't forget. Why honoring the Sabbath will change the world.
So, shalom, Brother Ricky. What is your thought on that and all this? You know, what do you think? What went down? Do you think I'm going into rabbit hole of a bottomless pit, or I'm onto something? What say you?
I would say that you are going in a great direction. I think you're going into a rabbit hole that's actually uncovering a lot of dirt that a lot of people are not willing to be honest about. Because like I say, when emotions run high, logic run low. And a lot of people can't really, because they heard him in early days, in the early time, they heard Charlie Kirk make comments about the Black community, like you had said earlier, about, our homes and how, we basically need to get our stuff together. And, and a lot of people didn't like it. He made comments based upon statistics that he read. And he even admitted he's self-taught. So he read things based upon what was out there, but he didn't know what was true or not. He just read what he read. And this goes back to, if you could pull it up, Jeremiah, I think it's in the 16th chapter. I think 16th chapter.
Okay, let's go there real quick.
Okay.
So you want to go to Jeremiah?
Yes, sir.
In the 16th chapter.
Right. 16th through the, 19th verse.
Okay, 16 to 19. Okay, we're there. It says 16, 19?
Yeah, start at the 16th verse.
Okay. Behold, I will send for many fishers, says the Lord, and they shall fish them. And after will I send for many hunters, and they shall hunt them from every mountain and from every hill and out of the holes of the rocks. For my eyes are upon all their ways. They are not hid from my face, neither is their iniquity hid from my eyes. And first I will recompense their iniquity and their sin double, because they have defiled my land. They have filled my inheritance with the carcasses of their detestable and abominable things. O Lord, my strength, my fortress, and my refuge, in the day of affliction, the Gentiles shall come unto thee from the ends of the earth, and shall say, surely our fathers have inherited lies, vanity, and things therein there is no profit. Shall a man make gods unto himself, and they are no gods? Therefore, behold, I will this once cause them to know. I will cause them to know my hand and my might, and they shall know that my name is the Lord. We're in that scenario. And I think the reason why they took him out, he was talking about criticizing Israel. Christians will keep the Sabbath. That's unheard of. In evangelical Christian, a Calvinist Christian, any Christian, modern day Christian talking about the Sabbath and keeping it, and that we should keep it. Criticizing Israel. I think it was a dangerous scenario, and it could have backfired because now people are more curious about Mr. Kirk than ever before. And now they're able to see these videos and say, okay, he was not a racist. He had this view. Okay, I agree with him with this, and so forth, so on. Now, the people that are on the far left, they're never gonna come around because I think they're possessed by demons. And that's my opinion. I think these people are too far gone to even have a rationale. I mean, they're dancing on his grave, and they're doing all kinds of demonic things, unhuman-like things. I mean, listen, this is supposed to be a war of information, not an actual war, right? We're supposed to be a little more civilized than that. But these people are uncivilized, and we've seen the infant state of America becoming the inhabitants of every evil spirit and every evil demonic bird, as the scripture says, Revelations 18. So absolutely, man, absolutely. What else you got to add?
I would also like to add is this, brothers and sisters. I would ask y'all, just as much as we ask people to have grace and mercy upon us and give us the benefit of the doubt. Remember, this man died. Well, this man was taken out at the age of 31 years old. He didn't go to college. He didn't get indoctrinated. He read books that he thought that he should read, and books that people say, hey, you should read this. And just as much as we had to come out of our stupidity and silliness of, our worldly Christianized minds, we had to get to a place where we understand what we know now. Who's to say that this man, if he was not taken out, where he could have made it? Who's to say that he would have met one of us, one of the true Hebrew Israelites, who would have spoke to him? Well, hopefully he would have came in contact with someone like you or myself, not with all that hatred in the heart and all that foolishness the other ones be on. And he would have came around and be like, you know what, this makes sense. Because then he would have read Deuteronomy, then it would have made him really think about it, like, wait a minute. If they're the people, they're not being cursed. They're being blessed every year with trillions of dollars. Mm-hmm. They're living the high life. He's been there. So he know about the Ethiopian Jews who are there, who are being mistreated. Mm-hmm. Or maybe he was put in certain areas where he was not able to see it, and it would make him be like, you know what, I'm just going to take a personal trip without them knowing, and then he would got to see the real stuff that he wasn't able to see before.
Yeah.
Because, we have to. So, brothers and sisters, we got to have grace and mercy upon not only ourselves and our brothers and sisters, but those of other Gentile nations. This is the reason why I had so much passion against how Captain Tazariak and how those other Israelite groups speak so harshly against other nations. Because guess what? We will not be having hatred when the Most High come back. When Big Brother come back and he settle everything, there will be no hatred. There will be no, kiss my boot and get under me and all. No, it won't be none of that mess. How are we gonna be a king and we don't know how to rule with the heart of gold? Yeah. We don't understand what true righteousness is because we have allowed so much mess of the world and things that we experience, the police and the government to doggone overtake our minds and poison in such a way that we can't even think straight.
Yeah.
We gotta stop that.
And this is the reason why I'm so critical of the Israelite community. This is the reason why I'm not going to shut up about the corruption and things that are wrong with our community. Because I love my community. I love my people. I want my people to do better. But when I'm reading the scripture, I'm looking at what the scripture is saying, and I'm looking at what these people are doing and what they're saying, and it's not adding up. It's not adding up. It's not the representation of what the scriptures, what God wants you to do. God is more important than you. God is more important than your feelings, your experience, your slavery, all of that. And this message is to my beloved brothers, the African American community, the tribe of Judah. You are the head tribe, brother. You're the head tribe. When Reuben slept with Jacob's wife, concubine, the Most High said, nope, we're not going to give the birthright to him, right? He's not going to be the head tribe, okay? It was given to Judah. It's a great honor. You have the power of influence. You have the power of leadership. Use it wisely. And before you lead, you got to deal with your traumas, man. Yeah, slavery was bad. Racism is bad. Racism exists. But we must be above that. And I'll be damned if I'm going to allow brothers lying on the good book and saying that salvation cannot come to the Gentiles. That is a lie from the pits of hell. We're supposed to be a light to the Gentiles. Listen, when Gentiles do things wrong, when individual Gentiles are incorrect, I bring it out. When Israelites do things that are incorrect, I bring it out. But we have to represent the book as is written, not how you wanted to spin it. Oh, the mixed multitude was talking about, cattle and cats and mixture of man and women. That's pseudo scenario. And I'm hoping people sending that video, that short video that I did a few months back or weeks back in regards of Mr. Captain Tazariak, right? And his this new breakdown that he's bringing out. That hey, as a matter of fact, let me play this video for you guys. All right, let me play this video for you guys. Cap, you're embarrassing us by saying this. Okay, this is an embarrassment to the Hebrew Israelite community. Stop saying this. Okay.
Nations. The others, yes. You have one who had a son. I think a son.
Yeah, so if you're saying there was none, but then you said, yeah, there was one and he got killed, how do you know there was not more? And that by technicality, right, that would not be true. There were Gentiles. If we could find one, they got killed because he blasphemed against God's name. What about he wouldn't have done that, General Captain? What about if he wouldn't have done that? Would they have kicked them out because there was no Gentile? Because, hey, you can't be here because the mixed multitude are a mixture of cattle and, dude, come on, you got to stop this stupidity. Right? What's going on with you guys? We need to stop this. You are embarrassing us, Captain Desariak. Because as much as I want to separate myself from these type of people, we can't.
Nope.
I am, and I believe that blacks and Latino and these people indigenous background are the lordship of the house of Israel. I believe we have to bless these people. I believe we have to help these people. We have to understand that they have gone through great trauma, great curses by God Almighty, and that same emphasis that but Americans specifically, Christian Americans, sympathize with Israel and the Jews, the fake Jews, by the way. They're walking away. And I think Mr. Charlie Kirk was and is and will be, even in his death, will be a pivotal marker in changing that specific thought process. They're shifting.
Right.
But how is it the prophecy of the Gentiles, saying that we have had inherited lives and things of no profit. How is it that in the book of Zechariah, when it talks about that there's going to be Gentiles are going to be grabbing the skirt of the Jew and say, we will walk with you because we have heard God is with you. How can we fulfill this prophecy if you guys have these racist views?
Can I bring some up real quick, Elder Gabar?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
You know, I find it very funny that we so quick to say, you know, our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and people so good at spitting out these verses of the Bible. I mean, they be spitting them out like they're rap verses, but then they don't understand the severity of it, because Abraham, when you read about Abraham, for all those who don't understand, the Most High God, it's a huge thing to have hospitality amongst the people. Mm-hmm. Not just your own, all people. Let me give you an example. When Abraham had his garden, he had a section of the garden where anybody, not just Israelites, anybody can come and come eat. So when y'all had y'all barbecue and somebody said, oh no, it won't be no white people at the barbecue, you hurting yourself. You can feel how you want to feel. But what you're saying is that you're still in a child's mindset. Because remember, it was our disobedience. We are our ancestors and they are us. We are one people because we ain't doing nothing different than them. We doing the same sins they doing, so doggone it, we ain't better. Mm-hmm. So therefore, we disobeyed the Most High God. We pushed him to wrath. If you really understand, read the book of Judges all over again. You're very intelligent, my brother. If you read the book of Judges from start to finish and read it with the honest heart and mind, with a sober mind first, you will see how many times, every time the Most High God got us out of our situation with a judge, we went right back, disobeyed him, and then we went right back into an oppression, and then next you know, another judge had to pop up. He got tired of that. When you got a butt whip, I'm not sure if you did, but when you get a butt whipping when you're young, your daddy or whoever, stepdaddy or your mama, when she whoop you behind, didn't I tell you such and such? Huh? Didn't I tell you not to do that? Every time we messed up, we got put back in another behind whooping. And right now, we still in that behind whooping. Are we gonna grow up and stop drinking milk and learn to eat strong meat? Or are we gonna sit up here and start whining like some punks all the time, talking about something, well, the white man did this and he did that. No, he did nothing that we did not allow him to do because we disobeyed the Most High God first. Are you rising to be a king or are you going to remain being a peasant? That's the question.
Yeah. Yeah. This obsession with slavery and racism is not healthy for our people. When I found out that the reason why we went through what we went through, it was because it's written in the Bible. It was a sense of relief. Because in my mind, I was saying, how is it this is the most horrific thing that ever happened to a people in the last, 500 years or so. And it's not even mentioned in the Bible, right? How is it? I used to remember that. I used to ask my mother, I remember, like, Mom, is America mentioned in the Bible? Oh, well, we don't know. I don't, because, ancient, for a Christian at that time, Babylon would have been like maybe the Roman Catholic Church or some other scenario, right? And I remember watching Roots for the first time. I remember I was like 16, 17. And it really made me, like, I heard about, I knew about Martin Luther King. You learned that in high school, and you kind of, okay, that's bad. But when I saw Roots, I was like, wow, it made me hate white people. Dislike them. Because
I'm a star too.
Right. And I'm a star, all those, right? And when I started reading the scriptures, even though it came from racist people. I'm referring to IAMFITPodcast, the original one, not General Yohana's one. That's some other thing. It was a relief. Like, okay, it's because we went against our God. This will never happen to us because we, within our culture and Black Latino culture, and especially when you come from New York, we pride on our toughness and how tough we are. And so I felt a certain kind of way. I was like, how can these people take over us? We're the greatest athletes, and we could see we clearly physical. We could, it was not a numbers thing. We had, the numbers. The numbers were there. Once I realized there was the hand of God was on it. It was ordained by God. Like, makes sense. It made me, in a weird way, forgive the nations for what happened because it was ordained by God. It was like, okay, they're just a pawn. They're not the motivator of what, behind the scenes. It's not there. It just happened because of random chance. It was the will of God. And that makes sense. And how can the ancient Babylonians conquer Israel? So, Nebuchadnezzar. How the Persian, the Medes, right? How all these people conquer us, and we were this mighty warrior nation. It was ordained by God. So, my beloved brothers within the Israelite community, let's start with the hate. And those Hebrew Israelites that are not dealing with the hate, please shout from the top of your lungs, from the top of your roof, in regards of understanding and condemning that type of behavior. I'm seeing Israel United in Christ making fun of a brother who happened to be a Christian and happened to have some familiar connection with Charlie Kirk, and he was crying and he was emotional in regards. He was the brother that was debating IAMFITPodcast about that same subject about the mixed multitude. They were making fun of him. Look at the simple Negro. Actually, it was not General Yohana, Nathaniel, Bishop Nathaniel from IAMFITPodcast. Shame on that brother. Bishop Nathaniel, man, he's probably a little older than me, right? He's probably around, if I'm 53, he got to be around like 57, 58. He's probably up there in age. I don't know. He's probably on 55. I don't know, but he's around that age, because I remember him when he was back in the days in One West. And I mean, yeah, sir, I mean, it's like enough already. It's like you couldn't, Israel United in Christ, they kind of dumped the whole Shield of David because they realized, it's not in the Bible. And they no longer subscribe to the Shield of David, which neither do we over here on this side. And this argument about the Shield of David, I'm not here to argue that in any way, shape, or form, or the so-called Shield of David. But I was like, okay, good for them in regards of having good critical thinking skills and evolving from that One West strict Orthodox doctrine. So if you could have evolved, you would be able to evolve from that. You could have also looked at the other things and said, maybe we have to walk away from this, walk away from that. So, Mr. Nathaniel, bro, you got to stop, man. You're embarrassing us, man. You're embarrassing us. And that's why I'm extremely critical on GOCC. Because, Brother Ricard, you are one of the few that I could count on my hands that is identified with the Israelite community and is not a racist. But there's issues there too. And I don't want to go into that. But we have to stop talking about this, man, because it's like, when are we going to smarten up? When are we going to do better? Because I truly believe that what was happening now is that these people are being exposed, right? And let me go into some scriptures real quick, right? To kind of show you guys what I'm referring to, right? So there is a Greek word, apostate, right? That is
Strong's G 646. Apostasia.
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 And it's basically, it's like an apostate, someone who has gone astray, has fallen away from the original message that of Christ. A heretic, right? And it is a word that many Christians use within their theology, right? An apostate. And this word was used twice, right? It was used in Acts 21:21 and also for 2 Thessalonians, 2nd chapter, 3rd verse, right? And this was used in Acts when there was a rumor, a wrong rumor, that Paul was teaching the Israelites that are among the Gentiles to not circumcise their children and to forsake the laws of Moses. And they were dealing with this fake rumor, this fake news rumor that existed at that time, and they were addressing it in regards of what Paul should do to get rid of that negative stereotype that he's speaking against the law. And notice that is what Paul is known for. Paul is utilized today to justify that we are no longer under the law, which we're not under the law. But Paul says, should we sin because we are not under the law, but under grace? God forbid. God forbid, in a Hebrew first century context, it meant heck to the no. Absolutely not. What he meant by saying we are not under the law, that means he was saying that we are not under the penalty, the death penalty. We're not under the judgment of the law. We're not under that. We're free from that. But should we go become homosexuals and adulterers and murderers and thieves and Sabbath breakers and disrespect our parents? And no, we're just not under the penalty. That's all he was saying, right? And the second time was in 2 Thessalonians, 2nd chapter. And what it says here, it says, let no man deceive you by any means. It's important that Paul was saying this. For that day shall not come, except there come an apostate or an falling away first. And that falling away didn't happen at one time. It gradually happened. The first thing that happened, the temple was destroyed, and all the Jews and the Jewish Christians that were in Jerusalem got either wiped out or got scattered into the four corners. Someone that went to Egypt, someone that ran to, the Middle East, someone went to Europe. They just began to find where they could get along and be, and hide from the beast, from Rome. And then Constantine said, hey, I want to be a Christian. And that is when everything went downhill. It just got gradually worse and worse and worse, that the religion, the actual institution of Christianity evolved to something that if any Christian, any apostle will be looking at Christianity today, they will not even recognize it. They will not recognize their holidays, their custom. What is this Sunday worship? Who's this white guy that people worship? Who this lady marry? What's going on here? It's just totally, and that we are in that apostate. Now, but what else needs to happen before the second coming? It says, for that day should not come except they come falling away first. And the word and means also, so it means There needs to be a falling away. And also, this needs to happen. And that man of sin be revealed. The son of perdition. Who impose and exalt himself above all that is called God, all that is worship, so that he, as God, sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Remember ye not that when I was yet with you, I told you these things. And now ye know that what withheld it, that he might be revealed in his time. For the mystery of iniquity does already work. Only he who now leadeth will lead until he be taken out of the way. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. Even him who is coming is after the working of Satan with all power and signs and lying wonders. Lying, remember? The synagogue of Satan? They say they are Jews, but they are not. But do what? Do lied. The liars, deceivers, and they're being exposed. And I believe that the Most High used the brother, Charlie Kirk to start the conversation. I think we're having these conversations. These people are being exposed. Esau is exposed. The son of perdition is our brother Esau. Our brother Esau, any individual Edomites can be saved if he repents and let go of the tradition of their fathers. Let go of what he has inherited, because he has inherited lies. So we have to have these conversations. And I just want to come in tonight, and just because I felt there's a lot going on, I got emails and texts, and people ask me what do I think about this situation, what's my thoughts. People have this opinion, and I truly believe that there's a lot to still be revealed. There's a lot that still needs to be digested in regards of his death. This guy got killed in a brutal kind of way. This is the first time that we saw the literal assassination of the person in front of us. This guy got killed in front of his wife and his two kids. I mean, this is a brutal death. And if it was this person that they have in custody, I'm pretty sure they're going to give him the death penalty and all that jazz and yada, yada, yada. However, though, they haven't officially charged him. I think they're going to officially charge him tomorrow, and he's going to get a lawyer and, yada, yada, yada. His whole family are kind of cooperating with authorities. Even the boyfriend that he had, who was transitioning into a woman, is cooperating with the authorities. So I want to know how this thing turned out, and I'm going to be looking at this closely because I think if this trial reveals many things, and so far I have seen, let me see if I download this video, if I have this video in regard. Yes. Okay, so according to, let me play this video for you guys. According to the authorities, this is a video of him in the roof. So that's the person there in the roof. If you see them, and this was actually on the date. There he is, that the individual running down. The question I asked, they claim that he hit the gun in the bushes towards your left, my right. Where's the gun? He had a long rifle. Where's the rifle? He has a book bag.
You ain't packing up no rifle that quick, and he ain't got no military experience.
Right, and he ran into the bushes or into he crossed the street and then he hit it there. Look at all these people walking around him.
Ain't nobody see that man jump out the building.
Yeah, nobody say, hey, it's a suspicious dude with a humongous rifles walking around with black clothes, and look at all those cars. So I got questions. I have many questions. Right. This is a let me.
How did he manage to escape, and how was he?
This is basically what they have so far. Right. So let's play a little bit of this video. Right.
How did this ordinary guy become the world's deadliest assassin? How did he manage to escape, and how was he ultimately turned in by a close family friend in original 3D animations made from scratch? This is an exact mapping of everything that happened, simplified for better understanding. Here is Lake Utah, and just beyond it lies the West Campus. This is the Utah Valley Campus. Charlie Kirk was shot in this area. To get the full picture, we need to look at how the suspect entered the building and how he escaped the scene. The suspect entered the building around 11:52 a.m. local time, moving through stairwells and across the roof to reach his sniper position. Surveillance footage confirmed his entry onto campus and his deliberate, unobstructed route inside the building. There is no public evidence or description suggesting he used a ladder to access the roof. Reports indicate he used interior stairwells and walkways instead of external ladders. The shooter was positioned less than 150 yards from Kirk, a distance well within the capability of a basic marksman. At around 12:22 to 12:23 p.m., the assassination occurred suddenly when a sharp gunshot rang out across the university courtyard. While speaking to the crowd, Charlie Kirk was struck in the neck. Blood quickly appeared as he instinctively clutched his wound and collapsed from his chair. Investigations confirmed the bullet was fired from roughly 200 yards away. Given the elevation of the shooter's position, he had a clear and unobstructed line of sight to the stage where Kirk was addressing the audience. The bullet's trajectory descended steeply and precisely through open space to strike Kirk in the neck, strongly indicating the use of a scoped firearm designed for long-range accuracy. After the shot, the shooter moved carefully from the sniper position to the edge of the building. There was incorrect information that he descended by ladder, but in reality, he dropped down from the ledge. In doing so, he left behind palm and shoe prints, which were crucial for forensic analysis. Though some describe it as a significant vertical descent due to the sloped embankment, he used his hands to grip the ledge and lowered himself as far as possible before dropping to the ground. The bolt-action rifle, identified as an older Mauser model, was still with him as he made his descent. Observers noted that he appeared
Now, the video that we saw, it looked a little grimy. I didn't see any long rifle in his hand. You should have, it should have, I would like to get another video, another edge. Like he could have had it. I don't know, maybe the way the camera was angled and the shadow and the, I don't know. I didn't see anything. Yes, sir.
And just another thing, there's another video showing this so-called suspect walking through a neighborhood before he even got to the place where he was limping. And if anybody knows, as far as dudes who carry long rifles or a shotgun or the sawn off in their pants, you walk with a limp because you got that thing in your you got that thing in your pants, so you could carry it right. So he went there limping, but he ran out.
Exactly. We should have seen some form of limping, or if he was hiding it and so forth. So on. I mean, it's a pretty long rifle. It doesn't it's not like a thing you could dismount it and put it in a bag like that. It's a pretty standard hunting rifle that you could get, on Walmart or a gun shop, whatever. I believe he actually ordered this one online and got it mailed and all that. So more conversation needs to be developed and more, things are coming out, and we're gonna stay on top of it because I think this is important because I think if people are not satisfied with the verdict or when evidence comes out or the lack thereof, right? Because he hasn't been convicted yet, right? He's a suspect. They're arresting him. They believe they caught the guy, but he still have to have his day in court, and we'll see what happened. And if the evidence shows that he did it, he did it. But regardless whether he did it or not, this is clearly is going to start the conversation about how much influence does Israel have in America and Americans in the Christian, and also among the Christian West. Right? I think if they took him out, Israel, this clearly would have this backfired. Because the rumor is that they had to take him out now because he was shifting into being pro-Israel no matter what to I'm pro-Israel, but I'm against Netanyahu's policy, which is the same thing. Because in Israel today, they are protesting Netanyahu. They want him out of office. Matter of fact, many people are saying that he's going to war and launched this war because he was under investigation. He was about to get arrested, and he started his war because in Israel, there's a law similar to here in America that when you're in the middle of a war, you cannot have election.
Right.
Why do you think Netanyahu is running around like a madman just blowing up things in different countries? Trump better wake up too and realize these people are not your friend. But as a Hebrew Israelite representative, us folks have to observe what's going on and realize that this is the end of the empire of our brother Esau.
Right.
Esau is the end of the world. And Jacob is the word that follows, as the Apocrypha says. Now, Edomites, you're more than welcome to join us. All nations, there are good, righteous, God-fearing men and women. We need to come together no matter what your race is. And we must stand together, not as Catholics or Lutheran or Pentecostal. Let's remove all those titles and let's just follow the way. And what is the way? What Christ said. Let's do what he did. Let's do what he said. Let's mimic and do exactly what is in the Bible, what's in these records. Let's not add any tradition that we cannot find in the Bible. We can't find Easter in the Bible. We can't find Christmas in the Bible. We cannot find Sunday worship in the Bible, but we could keep the Sabbath. We could find the Sabbath as Charlie Kirk found it and start and honor it. And I truly believe that God may have given him some mercy. I believe that, who knows, God could have given him a grace, and maybe he could be in the day of judgment in Abraham's bosom. I am not the judge here. I don't know. But I believe and I respect people that are sincere and they are honest and they cannot be bought, they cannot be sold, they cannot be compromised. I respect that. But it's a lot of fishy situation. Let's continue. Fair use.
Practice and did not discard the weapon at this stage, likely holding it in one hand or slinging it as he moved. After landing, he briefly limped, possibly from the impact, but quickly regained his composure and fled on foot into a wooded area adjacent to the university. Notably, palm prints and shoe prints left at the landing spot were documented by forensic.
It would have been impossible. Let's look at this video
just
again.
real quick.
How did this ordinary?
Go ahead, Brother Rick. You were saying?
I'm not sure how many brothers, more so brothers, done actually shot either a shotgun or you don't went long rifle shooting, or even if you do crossbow and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way in the world you're gonna hit the ground with something that big. And okay, they found footprints, but you mean to tell me the best inspectors on the earth can't find a gun print? The butt of the gun hit the ground? You're not jumping no one story, and you ain't gonna drop the gun, cause then that gun went off. Bow! It would have went off again.
Yeah, it would have ripped his pan right open. If he wouldn't be able to. It would probably have broken his leg, but he won't now be able to bend his leg. Let's look at this video again. This is the person who they're claiming shot Charlie Kirk He's running away let me put it for you guys to see it. My apologies. Here we go. This is the gentleman here. He's running pretty fast. Where's the gun? Is it inside his pants? Why he's not limping?
His legs
I don't see
bending.
Right, the legs look at both his legs. He lands and both legs bend. Boom, both legs. He does a full squat. Where's the gun?
It would have been police academy when he shot himself in the foot.
Exactly. Where is this rifle? I do not see it.
Quickly regain his composure.
Right, so let's continue. And it picks it up there, right?
And fled on foot into a wooded area adjacent to the university. Notably, palm prints and shoe prints left at the landing spot were documented by forensic investigators and proved vital to the case. He walked all the way to this location, blending seamlessly into the crowd. The suspect in the Charlie Kirk shooting had a brief encounter with an excavator operator near a construction site behind Utah Valley University's Losey building. According to construction workers present shortly after the shooting, the suspect approached the construction area and asked the excavator operator if he could pass through. The operator informed him that pedestrians were not allowed on the site and stopped him there. The suspect reportedly responded calmly, saying he was trying to get home safely following the incident. This interaction took place before police and emergency responders arrived at the scene. The construction site, located near the wooded area where the sniper rifle was later recovered, was part of the suspect's escape route after he jumped off the rooftop and fled from the campus. Within the next few seconds, he ran across a grassy section and headed into the nearby wooded area, rifle still in hand, until he was beyond the immediate campus property. The rifle was ultimately found wrapped in a towel in the woods along the suspect's escape path, indicating he discarded it shortly after leaving campus grounds. But how was he caught? It all came down to digital forensics teams analyzing thousands of security camera frames, matching Tyler Robinson's appearance, vehicle, and movements both on campus and off-site. He also left behind many digital footprints. When law enforcement released campus surveillance footage and still images of the suspect, his clothing, and the escape vehicle to the public. This led to over 7,000 tips flooding hotlines and social media platforms. Additionally, messages between Robinson and his roommate recovered through the messaging app revealed plans about disposing of the weapon, its location, and unique engravings on the bullet. One casing read, "Hate fascist. Catch." A clear, direct political message targeting Kirk's conservative stance. But the key reason he was caught was because his own father made the difficult decision to sacrifice his own son and turn him into the police. It was released that Tyler Robinson, the 22-year-old suspected shooter of conservative activist Charlie Kirk, was captured after an intense manhunt lasting about 33 hours following the shooting at Utah Valley University. The critical breakthrough came when Tyler Robinson's father, Matt Robinson, recognized his son in the photographs released by the FBI.
And, these days it's extremely hard for you to get away with a crime, right? It's extremely hard, or that at least is the perception. But if there were other parties involved, like that video that we saw, I can't confirm if that's the same guy, right? We can't tell. It's just a black figure, a dark figure just running. It could be the guy who actually did it, right? But it's not Charlie Kirk. He didn't have a gun. Most assassin, what they do is, I'm not an expert in this, but what we see is they would just leave the gun right there.
Yeah.
Not take it with them. They just leave it right there. Right? Mm-hmm. And I was speaking to a Marine, and he was saying that, this was, you either leave it there or you take it with you throughout the whole. You got to have a plan to get rid of the gun, because by they discovering the weapon, the murder weapon, it will give up your position. They will say, okay, he went from there to here, so it kind of gives up your position. But the question I have: where's the gun? I don't see the gun in this guy's hand. I know it was a grainy video, it was far away, but you would think that you would see some form of figure, some form of imagery of something a long pole, something that could say, yeah, I think that's the gun there. There's nothing within that video that I saw, and I saw plenty of them, that shows him having any gun. And like I said, it would be impossible for him to have the gun inside of his pants and him to jump, I believe it was like a 35, 40 feet jump, do a full squat and back up. Because if he had it in his hand, when he jumped, you'd be able to see it. He would have probably dropped it, pick it up again. You'd be able to see it in his hand. He would have to put it back in his pants. He's walking around normal with a limp. You'd be able to see. That makes sense.
Right.
I have questions. I don't trust the mainstream narrative. It's like, I try not to be a conspiracy theorist, but it's like you got no choice. It's like, and I have no evidence that Mossad was involved or any other organization was involved. I just got questions. The official story doesn't add up. And that is always the situation. 9/11, the same situation. People will report it. They heard explosion in the roof. In the basement before the collapse. Building 7 collapsed with no explosion. It just doesn't add up. And America has lost its credibility. And we, within the Hebrew Israelite community, have to just basically walk away, observe. And when there's a collapse and people don't have any answers, we're going to open up this Bible and we're going to see and show them this is all prophecy. Because the Spirit of Christ is the spirit of prophecy, the book of Revelation says. But if we feel with hate, if we feel with resentment, if we feel with anger, we're not going to be able to see clearly, as Brother Ricky said earlier. So I just feel strong about this, that there is a shift happening. People are realizing the propaganda that there's been learning in their churches and their institution school. This guy did not graduate from college. He's not a college graduate. He's a self-taught.
Right.
And he's able to do circles around these so-called experts. Not experts, but these so-called college students who are going to school to learn this, that, and the other. Shalom, Brother Daniel Exalian says, Shalom, Elder, will we be able to call in at the end of your podcast? Well, let me send you the link if you want to come in. I do have to maybe do a call, but if you want to come in, there's the link. And the link is also listed below. You could come in through StreamYard if you want to come in. Okay, there's the link right there. I put the link in the description. And also, we also have it in the, let's see. Let me put it here. Let me make sure I put it here. Let me do this. Where are you? There you go. Let me copy this. Okay. Live stream. Ooh.
And Elder, can I say this just real quick?
Yes.
This is not for the far left people. Yeah, I understand y'all got your little hooks in your nose, looking like your cattle and stuff. Yeah, y'all out of there, whatever. But for those people that call themselves Christians, who also call yourself a Democrat, I need y'all to just hear me out on this, okay? The same way Charlie Kirk was 31 years old and started reading and started seeing that something wasn't right, I want y'all to hit on this right here. And when I tell you this, please do not believe a doggone thing I'm telling you. Please research yourself, because the word of God said to study to show thyself approved. So check this out. Originally, if you do your research, you'll find out before 1776, supposedly, because them dates ain't correct either, the original Republican Party were all black men. Mm-hmm. Do you understand this? Mm-hmm. Here, I'm going to say it one more again. The original Republican Party were all black men.
Mm-hmm.
The first president of the United States of America, his name was John Hanson. He was a black man. There were 6 more presidents after him. Then all of a sudden, the number 1776 come up, and then George Washington was the first president. Why do I bring that up? I am hoping that me just saying that will kind of filter your brains, because originally the Republican Party is the ones that started the civil rights movement.
Mm-hmm.
But then it got hijacked some type of way with the Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I was supposed to say it like that. But I'm just telling you, please don't believe what a doggone thing I'm telling you, because most of the time it's times that you need to do your own research, and the Most High will unlock your mind and show you something else that you need to see. Because we all been lied to. And either you're going to remain a baby, or you're going to put away those childish things and become a man or a woman.
Amen. 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 Let me bring in Shalom, brother Daniel. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Shalom, brother. Okay, what you got to add to this conversation? What say you?
First, I want to say all praise to the Most High in Christ. Before I kind of get into the conversation, which I just got into because I saw your live and I just clicked on it, I wanted to start with this kind of like introduction, which is Elder Gabar. I have been binge watching your videos for, man, like the past 3 weeks, just nonstop. And I actually had the pleasure of speaking to you like 2 years ago. And this is like right when you transitioned out from the GOCC. And I went to the GOCC. I was under Elder Azan. And we can talk about, I was with my father, and there's different reasons on why we ended up leaving. But I still paid attention to you, even with that whole transition out, because I understood you was a very wise person. And yeah, man, like I've always had this affinity, and my little brother as well. We've always had this affinity when it came to you as being an elder. And so I just want to say that I am pleased to be able to get a chance to talk to you. So that's kind of much the introduction.
Well, thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. And then also I would like to, okay, now that I'm done with the introduction, now I want to get with really the purpose of this conversation, which is I have studied multiple camps. Of course, GOCC, the tenets that I've learned from there is what I believe to be true. Gentile salvation, being in the new covenant, different things of that nature. Nonetheless, I found myself in this predicament to where, like, I couldn't necessarily find myself being a part of a camp. The closest thing was going to be Sons of Thunder. And the only reason because of that was because I felt like Brother Yahweh All had a great spirit when it came down to brotherhood. But then I stumbled across your videos again. And I was like, okay, Most High, I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to put in my stone. And so I would love to, with my best foot forward, be a part of mingling God's way. And I've already looked at, I don't know if you've changed anything, but I looked at the requirements. I understand, like, I'm already into combat. I can send you videos. I love it. I love combat, mixed martial arts. There were some other things, like, but the only thing that I'm working on right now, and I'm saying I'm working, man, like 62-hour work weeks, is trying to get six figures. That's it. But outside of that, like, I am fully committed to being a part of Mingo and God's way.
Well, thank you, brother. And the 6-figure, scenario, we that's something that we are planning. That's not a deal breaker for us, because we want people to build up to that, or brothers to build up to that. And it is easier than you think. And we're going to be having those discussions privately. And in the future, give me send me an email.
I've been sending you emails, Elder. You haven't responded.
Okay, so you don't send me another email tonight. What's your number?
Yes, sir.
and I'll look out for you. If just to make sure you have the right email, but the email is listed below, right?
Okay.
Let me put the email in the, and I do apologize if I missed your email, is mggw144@gmail.com. Because
Okay.
we're gonna be having private Bible studies. I'm looking towards Friday, God willing, with some of the brothers, for we could start building something here, because I think it's not enough for me to just be complaining what's going on and do nothing. I think I have to stop doing something. And yes, we're doing going God's way, but I think we have to start ripping it up and doing some other things. So let me give you give everyone else, any other brother who wants to join as well, M.G.G.W144@gmail.com. So just send us a quick note, leave your information. I'll give you a call. You have my word by tomorrow. Okay. And I do apologize about it. I try to get all my emails or contact. I must have missed yours. I'm just hoping you're, I just want to make sure you send it the right location. So there's the email right there, and we could chop it up tomorrow, because we're going to start having Bible studies on private Bible studies for men only on Friday. I'm clearing out my schedule. I'm going to be getting rid of my second job. I would say within the next month or so. And then I'll give you more time to just be dedicating for men going God's way, because I think we need to wrap this thing up. So but brother, what is your thoughts on what's going on? Who do you think who really killed Charlie Kirk? Does it matter to you in one way or the other? What's your view in regard to this subject?
In regards to Charlie Kirk, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know who he was under Adam outside of this whole shooting debacle, but being introduced to him, I came across some of his videos, and the rhetoric that he spewed was very racist, very divisive, you can tell there's no fruits of the spirit in it. And so, am I for one to support another man taking the gun and shooting another man and killing them? No, but it's like I was telling one of the guys, I said, hey, like the scripture says, who pities a snake charmer when he's bit? So it's like, if you see a guy and he deals with snakes and he gets bit by a snake, are you gonna be like, oh man, that's such, and be like, well, that's what comes with it. And so that's pretty much my sentiment.
Now let me ask you a question, because I have heard this, that he's a racist. Where or what did he say? Because I heard that too. And then I believed it in the beginning, while I was like, okay, because I wasn't really following him much. I know he was a Trump supporter, and he was very key in helping Trump being elected. He was out there in the college, and he turned a lot of people into the Republican Party. So I kind of view him as like a Republican, rhino type of individual, a total line. But then I heard this racist situation. I was like, and I knew of him, and I seen some of his speech. What specifically you would think will be racist about him, and something he said that you remember
So
something he's
it was okay, damn, I just remembered. I had to think. It was this guy. He's so funny. His name is The Amazing Lucas.
Yeah.
And he did like the first part of his video dealt with like short clips of some of the things Kirk was saying. And pretty much Kirk had lined up like these different black names, like maybe they were political names. I have no idea who they were. But then he started to have these sentiments that they were incompetent. And like it was like to be expected. And so that right there, I can send you. It's a recent video.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that conversation. I heard the entire. And see, this is why it's important never to take a video that someone is doing about somebody else and clip it and say, okay, this is the reason why he's a racist. Oh, Charlie Kirk's a racist. Look what he said, and just take a clip. I'm telling you, this is the. If you don't take anything from me tonight, take this. And this to everyone. Do not listen to these clickbaits, these short terms when somebody's attacking someone. Look what this guy said. Look what this guy said. This is the number one thing that they're doing and they're using to mislead people. I don't believe he was raised, and I saw that interview because what was happening is that they have, you know, affirmative action all through America. And what was happening is that they were lowering the standards to bring in women, you know, African Americans, Latinos, and so forth, so on. But what was happening is because the women in the African American Latino community perhaps didn't have the same credentials in regards of expertise, they had to change their expertise. And this is, I checked it out myself, and it was true. Now, regardless whether I believe, if I would have to say, Charlie, any criticism in regards of that he should be a little more, I would say, sensitive about that, because I think what happened is when Black Latinos or people of color get criticized by a white man in regards of something, the first, you know, default, oh, he must be a racist. And I don't think he was a racist. I think he had his ideas. I understand from the perspective of affirmative action in regards of why some people are concerned with it. I understand the black side of it. I understand the white side of it. But not everything is based on racism. So my advice to you is to hear the speech, try to find where he was talking, try to kind of find because, you know, sometimes you may be talking about multiple things in an interview, and then he may be covering that within like 20 minutes of a 2-hour conversation, right? So I know that's hard to try to find it, but try to find it and then try to get the part that he was talking about, or you can understand the context of it, right? Because yes, I understand affirmative action was needed and was good to try to bring in other people, because white people were racist against blacks and minority and housing and employment, and those things are true. That was the whole civil rights started. But I think it has evolved to bring in quotas, right? And in certain situations, and when you cannot find the people qualified of that, you know, enough women, enough gays, enough blacks, enough this and that and the other, you start cutting corners that may be affecting the quality of that particular industry. Like the Marines were complaining because they wanted to bring in women into the Marine Corps and fighting in the hard lines, and they lowered the standards. Now, that could be the setup, right? To set up the race war. Let's bring in blacks. Let's lower the standards to anger whites so that there could be a conflict between black and white. And that could be an idea that somebody from the outside of America, non-Americans, a foreign nation, I'm not going to leave any names. I'm not going to say any names, but maybe somebody is the puppet master to make us seem like as if this guy was a stark racist. And just because a white man has a problem with affirmative action doesn't mean he's a racist. He's had a legitimate problem. There's black people that have issue how the affirmative action DEI was developed and how it has evolved too. So we have to start having conversation, be comfortable with other racial groups viewing us. Like I do this all the time when I have a non-Hispanic friend or a non-black friend. If I have a Chinese friend or an Arabic friend, or I like to pick their brains and ask them, hey, what do you think about this this particular situation or that particular situation? Because sometimes someone outside of our community may have a different point of view that we may deem as like, ooh, that hurts, right? It's like I could, you know, criticize my wife, or my mother, but you better not do it, right? It's like familiarity, and someone outside of our community sometimes criticizing. Sometimes it could be deemed as, oh, this person is racist. So I would challenge for you just to see that video where that individual, that brother who came up with that short video and accused him of Charlie Kirk being racist. Watch the whole thing, or at least enough of it that you could make up your own decision. And after you do that, if you still think he's a racist, then okay, that's fine. But be careful when these slow little clips and these, you know, these type of videos, attack videos on individuals, because usually 9 times out of 10, they're either stretching the truth, there's an agenda, or they're just simply lying. But brother Alex, brother Daniel, any last word you want to say before we end the show?
No, I definitely appreciate that wisdom. And I agree. I don't need to do that. That's not a good look. And just when you were saying, I was like, come on, Daniel, like that do make sense. So yeah, it's just studying to show that self-approved kind of concept. So
yeah,
that was about it. But I'll definitely email you. And I had some time to think about it. I emailed your old email, so it was the one that was IAMFIT. That's what I was emailing.
Okay, then maybe that's what it is. So yeah, so send the it's M.G.G.W. Let me look it up again. It's M.G.G.W. 144, no 0, just 144 @gmail.com. If you send it there, I'll be able to see it. The IAMFIT I get so many bombarded email that sometimes I probably missed it. So yeah, so send it there, then I'll definitely get back to you.
But I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
If was it okay to call back in if there was like something that I found to be interesting in the midst of your podcast?
Absolutely. I welcome people to come in. I welcome people to, if you disagree, if you see it differently, I know people call me elder. That's how they recognize me. But I am not here just say I'm teaching and you're a student and listen to me and don't want. No, I want to have conversations, because I think that is what is happening, or what's wrong. I think with the Hebrew Israelite community, that is always from a perspective of students, teacher-student perspective, and I want to kind of break that barrier. Yes, I've been doing this a long time. Yes, I think I have some command on the scriptures that I could maybe share with the world, but I want to hear your perspective too. I may not agree with it. I may agree with it. I may agree with some. I may agree with others. I believe if we have these conversations, and I don't know if let me use. Yeah, okay. And there was a lot of background there, Brother Daniel, so I just mute you. I'll mute you in a few seconds. But I want to establish that type of scenario that people are comfortable challenging me. As long as they come in a respectful manner and say, Gabar, I disagree with you. This is the reason why, and so on and so on. Because I think we also have to learn how to communicate with one another, and disagree without being disagreeable. So, Brother Daniel, anytime you can come in. I usually put the link below. And if you have any questions or anything you want to add to the conversation, you're more than welcome anytime.
Okay. And I know Ricky wants to say something.
Yeah, I just want just Brother Daniel, I just want you to understand that Charlie Kirk, remember, he was self-taught. And most likely when he did his research, he did what the average person did to get statistics and went on Google and got it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So the only reason why our people, well, not even our people, some of our people able to get the statistics, the honest ones, because we have to deep dive. So if you want to get honest statistics, there's a guy named Medium Man, and he has the honest statistics far as far as our people and where our black men are at. So what I'm saying is, even our own sisters talk trash about us about, we always getting them pregnant and we doing this and that. And so what I'm saying is, do deeper research to get the truth, because even like, for instance, I know for sure that we're not the minority no more in the United States. I know this by my own ear back in 2011, because like I said in a past show, there's a friend of mine named Mike. I ain't gonna say his last name. Me and him was riding in the car because we was going to aviation school. And he said, and his mom called him. He's from New York. His mom worked at the Census Bureau. And she called him and said, baby, guess what? He said, what, Mom? We no longer the minority. He said, what you talking about? She said, they just did the numbers. Black people are no longer the minority. So when people be like, well, I done been to towns where it's all them, all white people. It don't matter, because you're only going to see it's only no more than 30, 40,000 of them in that town. Sometimes there ain't no more than 300 people in the town. Some towns only got one traffic light right now. So They know that their people are dying off. They're at a war to make sure that they replenish themselves because a lot of their women are seeing how they men operate, and they be like, you know what? I want something with a little color, a little flavor. And a lot of our brothers, doing that, whatever. But I'm just saying. So just understand that there's lies going on. We read the scripture in Jeremiah 16, or it was 16 through 19, that even their fathers inherited lies. They're realizing they've been lied to. If they realize they've been lied to, of course we've been lied to. So we got to start being more here and make sure that emotion, because remember, your heart is deceitful.
Yeah.
So get out your emotions, take your emotions, put them in the trash, flush it down the toilet, and get sober-minded and be very strategic on how you move, because there's a lot of shifting that's going on.
Yeah, because I think another way, Charlie, he probably got 40 statistics in certain situations, because I believe there was one time that he said, I think 57% of murders or crime that's committed in America is by blacks. That is an outdated statistics. Actually, 50%, 52% of crime happens by whites, because there's more of them, right? According to Brother Ricky, he believed that we're the majority. Now, regardless whether we are or not, their numbers are clearly dwindling, right? And there's multiple factors with that. And Europe is also a problem. White people are only, I think, 7% of the global population. Only 7%. So on. But I want to focus specifically, in regards of, because I think the white and black. I think white people have to come together with black people and fight against the small hats. I'm telling you, man. And if you look, because listen, only 2% of the population were slave owners. Slavery was an elite culture. It was not the average white person walking around owning a slave.
Right.
It was an elite thing. So I think if you look at the history of slavery, most of the time when it was a Jewish holiday, the slave market was closed. Why? Because they controlled the market. It was a Jewish enterprise. It was not a white enterprise. The word white was created. White people don't exist. You got German Americans, Irish Americans, you got British Americans. White people doesn't mean anything. The word black doesn't mean anything. So I think we've been hoodwinked by the small hats. They've been more involved in our demise than they want to give credit to, and there has not been one rabbi apologizing for slavery and being involved. The Jewish community saying, hey, we were involved with slavery. We benefit from slavery. We have to bring some form of restitution to the black community because of the horrible things that we were in the front of. And we pass the blame to white people. Not all white people are racist. And there's some good white people out there. And there's some bad ones too. And there's some bad ones too. I just want to also say that we have to judge the situation. But go ahead, Brother Daniel.
And when it comes down to having these conversations with our older brother Esau, I'm not opposed to it. Majority of my background has, when it comes down to, my social background has been with like nations outside of Israel, even starting from like when I was in like middle school, so I'm not opposed to that. It's just, I know his nature. And so like, for example, I'm going to deal with one point and then I'm going to go to the next point. I'm going to keep this very short. Yeah. So the first point I want to address is the conversation. So my Brazilian jiu-jitsu coach, he's an Edomite, and he has a police officer background, and he's like just straight up that kind of American. And he'd say, man, he was like, he'd have real talks about, man, the thing about your people is that you guys hate one another. And he'd sit down and we'd have these conversations. And he said, if it was up to me, what he would do is he'd deal with the white people. He said, I'll handle the white people, you handle the black people. Okay, I said, okay. He said, what I'll do is I'll get all the homosexuals out of my out of my people. And what you need to do is, focus on the thing that was just mentioned, which is, in the hood stuff and whatnot. So I understand the conversations. This is where I get uncomfortable with my older brother. Okay. I've had good friends that were Edomites, and I had this one guy. I mean, I did sales a lot of my life, right? Like, so I would travel to different states and knock on people's doors and sell them TV. I did that. And the guy that was the owner of it, his name was Connor, and he was a great dude. Like, I mean, we talk, like, like we do so much stuff together. And, this guy, he'd spend so much money on his circle, and I was involved in that circle. And I say that to give emphasis on the emotional impact of what I'm about to say right now, which is, there was one day, I don't know what state we were in, it may have been in Tennessee, and he's drunk. And I'm with my boy Aramis. Aramis is black too. And I say, Aramis, we got to work tomorrow. If the owner's thrown in jail, how are we going to get anything done? And so we go over there. He's about to fight this trucker. And I say, Connor, bro, chill out. And he looks at me and he says, Elder Gabar. He looks at me with I can see the blood vessels alive underneath his skin. He looks at me and says, nigger, move. I said, oh my gosh, I get it. I was in La La Land for a moment. I thought I could trust you people.
Mm-hmm.
But the impact that did to me. And mind you, before, like, I've been in sales, I get it. Like, you're gonna get racist wherever you go. Heck, I played Call of Duty, and then when you play Call of Duty a while, when Modern Warfare 2 came out, these Edomites were racist. I get it, but I would have never in 1,000 years expected him. I mean, this is a guy that took me to lakes. This is a guy that didn't spend money on me, like, and had great conversations with and talking about, making darn oaths with me, like some Jonathan and David stuff. Like, I swear if I make it, all this kind of stuff. And he hits me with that, and I say, it's just your nature. And forgive me, Elder Gabar, for saying this. And I believe in Gentile salvation. But what does it say in Sirach? It says, what the Most High had made crooked, who can make straight? And so it's not that I'm not accepting of Esau. It's just that I understand his propensity and that inclination, which is, it's iron rusted, so do with his wickedness. And so that's pretty, and correct me if I'm wrong.
No. Listen, I share your same sympathy, sentiments. I have problems trusting white people around my circles, specifically dealing with religious conversation. I have had plenty of conversation with white people when I was in GOCC, when, we were having candid conversation. And I told them that I love my white brothers and sisters, but this is the problem that I have with some of you guys. You first come in and agree with everything. And then I get a phone call, or some elder gets a phone call and said, and if I have a dime for every time I have an Edomite call me and tell me, I think I'm from the tribe of Gad. They do that all the time. And I was speaking to a white couple and they were laughing because they were doing the same research, like, Elder, I thought I was, you're laughing because I was doing the like, listen, you're not Gad, you're Esau. Okay, there was a lot of white people. They actually were called $5 Indians because they were buying it was just a fake thing for white people to take over Indian land and so forth, so on. So, and so, yes, I don't have to trust you 100% to love you.
Right, I agree with that.
Right, and the way we have to kind of look at this is like we have to accept we have to look at an individual. And we have to give them a chance, because I believe that part of us giving them a chance is going to be a thing that in the day of judgment, our conscience will be clear. Because everybody have a chance to have it to do it right. That's the reason why Paul was talking about in Romans chapter 11. He said, do not boast against the natural branches, because if you boast, you don't support the root support you. And there is a thing, and I've had these conversations with people of European descent, that when European people are in the vicinity of black and brown people, they believe that they are the smartest person in that room. They usually want to be kind of like the white hope, in our community. And we have to have these conversations. It doesn't mean we shut the door and we don't open it up and we don't have these type of discussions, but we have to have these discussions.
Yes, sir.
And I don't think white people know they're doing that consciously. I think that's how they believe, like Charlie Kirk. And he was saying that, yeah, when I go into a plane, and because he got fed this information about statistics and in regards of they did lower the standards and change the standards, because, what happened is that they will come in and instead say, okay, let's keep the standard as it is. They change the standard because the people that are even looking at the standard, they themselves are somewhat, I won't say the word racist, but more like they deal with the negative stereotype of black people. Oh, they're not as smart as white people, so let's lower the standard for them. And they mean well, but then what happened is they create more tension between black and white. And I will even say that could probably even it's a design by the small hats to divide black and white. And I'm not ignoring your concern. I'm
no, you addressed it.
I'm affirming your concern. Your concern is real.
And you addressed it. You said, it's not necessarily that we need to. You addressed it head on. You said it's not necessarily that we need to trust them 100%. We need to love them, and
that's it.
I am finally in the arena to be able to do that, because I have been, like, I used to be very social. Like, I used to be like, around Esau all the time. And life happened and I fell into this state of just like kind of being in a cocoon, not want to deal with them. Then I started dealing with One West Heavy. One West Heavy. In my vitriol towards my betrayal. And so finally the Most High has put the spirit on me to snap out of it and say, Daniel, Gentiles, go back to your first works. I'm okay, Most High, I got it. Then I come across you, because this is what hit the nail on the head, right? I listened to Sons of Thunder, Yahweh All, and I love Yahweh All. I love him. And he said that there was a question that came up, which was, can you not be circumcised and participate in the Passover? And he said that for him and his camp, pretty much there's grace in that, and that a person can still participate in Passover. And I go to my little brother. It's funny, my little brother's name is Gabar. And I say, bro, what do you think about this? And I start playing the devil's advocate. I start, presenting the case that the leader of the Sons of Thunder was presenting towards why people uncircumcised can participate in the Passover. And my little brother was like, well, doesn't that defeat the purpose in us going into captivity if we can just sin because we have grace? Has Christ become the minister of sin? And so I say, but what about dang man, it was a cold precept. It was in Exodus, I think.
Yeah. And
no, I remember it, Elder. I got you, Elder. I got you. Watch this. It was in Acts. And Acts said that the Gentiles didn't need to be circumcised. And I said, no, well, you see, there it is right there. Gentiles don't have to be circumcised. Thus saith Peter and the council. And he said, okay, give me some time. Because it hit him heavy when I brought that out. Because right at this point, we're taking those Gentiles to be Israelites, right? And Noah comes to me, Gabar comes to me, and he says, bro, he said, those aren't Israelites. He was like, those are non-Israelites. and pertaining to Amos 9 and 11, right? And he said because that's the only way this works. That's the only way of people, like, we can like pretty much there's no way we cannot be circumcised. There's no way that the children of Israel cannot be uncircumcised, because it was a commandment. So to try to associate Acts, that decree in Acts, towards us is unrealistic, because it literally transgresses the laws of the Most High. And so when we came to that conclusion, I said, in their hatred towards Esau, they have perverted the scriptures. And them perverting the scriptures, the people that listen to them, we fall under that same perverseness. And I said, you know what? I'm done with all this hatredite stuff, this evil stuff. I'm done with it all. And so I'll praise all this to be said. It was like just crazy timing on like me snapping out of that one West stuff, and then you coming back in the picture and me being able to talk to you. So that was it. I'm sorry, Elder.
Yeah, but we'll talk, because, I'm glad we're having this conversation, because these are the struggles that a lot of our men are having within the Israelite community, that they'll read something in the Bible in regards of the Gentiles, right, coming in and so forth, so on. And they don't see, they're not sure that the brothers from One West and the racist Israelites, who are saying that everybody who is a Gentile that is spoken in the Bible in a positive light is an Israelite, right? And any time the word Gentile is talking about this, judgment and destruction and yada, 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 it's talking about the bad, Gentiles. And when you start looking at the scripture, you start like, I don't know, this thing adds up. But then you come across a white friend or an experience of some racist white person, they bring you back to where you were in the beginning, like, I don't know about these white people, bro. Maybe these brothers are right. Maybe there is no salvation for the Gentiles. Well, God made crooked, what could be straight? So I understand your frustration, because I was there. And it had to, there needed to be a search, and that, we have to be honest about those feelings and how we feel about white people. And the main feeling that we feel is not hate, but is mistrust. And white people have to acknowledge that and affirm our concern with them. Not to just simply dismiss us as like, oh, you're being paranoid, you're being racist, I don't see color. Address it, white America. Because before we come together to fight against the small hats and expose these guys and what they've been doing all along, this is nothing new. They've been kicked out for like over 107 different countries.
Yep.
They've been exposed this is not the first time we have had these conversations. People have had conversations about these fake Jews for a long time. And they have been the number one people setting us against each other.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that we should just dismiss the distrust. We got to address it. Black and white people, Hispanic, we have to come together and say, you know what? We have to put our differences. And it cannot be an organization, and it will not be an organization that is run by white people that could help us. But we are the people of the book. Everything that you've been taught has been taught from a European perspective. You have to throw that out, and we have to start from the beginning. And I'm not saying we had everything right. And I'm not saying that a white person could not bring in something that could be helpful to the movement. But this is a struggle between Jacob and Esau. And Jacob and Esau does not necessarily mean white and black. Because a lot of white people, believe it or not, and I've done the research, they're not even Edomites. They're Japhites. Because when you go into the book of Jasher, the Edomites and the Japhite were fighting with one another, and they stopped fighting and kind of merged and became one nation. And when you look at the MO of the Edomites, they hide themselves among the nations, including Europeans. Esau is not a European. He's a Shemite. So when Jewish people say, I'm a Shemite, they're actually correct because they're Esau.
Yep.
They hide in the European scenario. They hide in India with the Bollywood. Jewish people control Bollywood. I got the receipts for that.
Arabs too.
The Saudi Arabian family, they're actually Jewish. I got the receipt for that too. They're high among the nations. And I'm not, dismissing white people in the sense of, they were white racists, right? They were white people that because remember, the Ku Klux Klan was started by a Jewish person. I got the receipts on that too. So they set up all the black organization, the WNCP, whatever, started by Jewish people too. They're behind the scenes controlling the narrative. And we're fighting against each other. And I'm not saying that racism is not real. White people got to get away with this thing of, white privilege and thinking everything's about their point of view and yada, yada, yada. And we got to discuss it. And once we discuss it, we agree, okay, we're going to stop this. We're going to stop that. White people, it's not okay to say the N-word, ever. It's offensive to black people. White people, stop dismissing black suffering and black distrust of white people, because look at the history. And yes, it's been the so-called Jews running around controlling us, the narrative behind the scenes. They were controlling the newspapers back then. As they control, they are behind all that. They're being exposed now. But they've always been within the I would say the puppet master, if you will. So we could put our differences and realize that we both being played by the small hats.
Yep.
We have to come together and put aside our differences. But our Constitution has to be the Bible, period. Hands down. Full stop. And we could start from that foundation and read the Bible, understand what it says, and follow exactly how and exactly how it says, and we got to follow it. If it's not in the Bible, we don't follow it. Christmas is in the Bible. Easter, we have to reject. Europeans, you have to reject all those holidays for me to even have a conversation with you. If you want to join what we're talking about, you have to get rid of everything you've been taught because you had inherited lies. If you could do that, see, what people have called Israelites, we have to start talking to white people the same way, how we talk about white people behind their backs. Yeah, you're white people this and white people that. You know what I want? We have to say, yeah, listen, this is what we don't like about you. And if you could start addressing it, and white people, another thing, don't think just because you don't see that you do something doesn't mean you don't do it. Because it's conscious and subconscious behavior that people do all the time. So I'm with you, Brother Daniel. I'm not saying that we should just say, let's ignore the issues that exist, these racial issues. Let's confront them thereon so that we could come together and expose the son of perdition. Expose the synagogue of Satan. They do lie and say they are Jews, but are not. So I think these are conversations needs to be had because we need men, strong men to stand up. And I think now more than ever, the God of the universe, the God of of Israel has created a narrative that we could now spread this truth in a more rapid, fastest way than ever before. And this is not about Charlie Kirk necessarily. He passed. He did his thing. Like I said, I didn't agree with everything he said. I do believe he had faulty information. Sometimes he was being given that, and you're right. He was self-taught. He's not a college graduate, and so forth, so on, which was a good thing in regards of him being not doctrinated, right? But I think he got some faulty information. Nick Fuentes, another one, right? But it's not about them. It's about us. We are the children of light. And what I mean is the people that are holding on to the original gospel that was taught by the Messiah Christ and his apostle, not what came in later. We have to throw all these names away. The Catholics, we got to throw that away. The Protestant, the Lutheran, all these names that came out of the Babylon, Europe, and all these pagan tradition that was adopted eventually. Europeans, with all due respect, you are not the people of the book. So you're not going to understand this book the way we understand this book. You could help in other ways, but we are the people of the book. And we could start from that perspective, and we could start like we're going to follow the 10 Commandments. Start there. We're going to stop Christmas. We're going to stop Easter. It will literally bankrupt this country. But we have to come together because once this country collapses, where are we going to go? We have to start planning now and having these conversations. And yes, I'm going to tell white people they want to join white men. They want to join men going God's way. I have a problem with white people. Let me explain why. Do you want to have that conversation? If he doesn't want to have that conversation, there's the door. My concerns are going to be addressed, or you can get out of here, my brother. Because in the same way as black and brown people, we don't like to be criticized by white people don't like to be criticized by nobody either.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to have these real conversations.
Yeah.
I want somebody from the outside to tell me, outside of the Dominican community, I'm Dominican, that's my colloquial nationality, whatever you. What do you think about Dominicans? Hey, Mr. Chinese man, Mr. Arabic man, you don't know anything about our culture. You got to stop doing that, man. Because even if they may be wrong or may have negative stereotypes, at least we know, okay, this is what you believe and what you perceive for us to be. And remember, white people, Chinese people, Arabic people, black people, we all come from Adam and Eve anyway. We all use a big family. And yet we've been divided by nations, blah, blah, blah. But that blood comes from the same source. We just a family, and we're just having a family feud. And yes, out of all the brothers and children, God Almighty chose the children of Israel to kind of be like the big brother of all the other little brothers, to say, okay, listen to your big brother. He chose Israel. The nations have to get over that. The Israelites have to stop boasting and stop thinking it's all about their racist, crazy views, and understand that our task is to teach the Gentiles, is to bring in and be a light to the Gentiles. In the very Bible that we read, it says that we are going to take the forces, or the Gentiles are going to bring their portion and their riches to the Israelites.
Yep.
And we're stopping those blessings. So we by cursing Edomite out, you racist, you this and that, we're not opening. Yes, there's some white people that have racist views that need to be educated on those racist views and show you the right stacks and educate them. Yes, we have to have this conversation. I'm not agreeing with everything that Charlie Kirk said and so forth, so on. But I could objectively look at certain situations. Like there's a lot of people don't know Charlie Kirk. He had an organization. He had a nonprofit called Blixit, I think it's called, specifically targeting black youth in inner cities, Chicago and different areas. He had like about a staff of 40 black men, and he hired these men to go into the inner cities to change things around and have conversation about, stopping the violence and all of that nonsense. Okay, he got a stack wrong. Yeah, okay, he maybe has some negative stereotype on certain things about. Doesn't mean that we just shut the door on it. Oh, he's a racist. And we're living in a time that information is rapid and is out there, and the enemy knows this. So what they have to do, they have to create the culture of what? Low extension span. That's why they want these short videos, short clips. They don't want you to slow down. Hold on. Wait a minute. Where do you got this video from? Let me hear it. Every single time, and this is my last advice for tonight. Anytime you hear someone speaking about somebody else and they showing you a short clip about something that this person did, look at the video, try to see where's the name, where's the title, where's the link, and see the entire video of the of that particular clip, and see if you still have the same sentiments afterwards. I have done it many times, so many times I can't remember. That anytime I see a quick scenario of somebody, Donald Trump is racist, this guy's racist, this guy this, that, and the other, I slow down. I say, okay, where this video came from, I get the original source, hear it for myself. I'm like, okay, this guy he has an agenda. Every single time. There's never been one time that they were like, oh, this guy's right. And you got to do this not only with people that is telling you something negative about somebody else. The same thing has to be if they're telling you something positive about somebody else, because people are biased on both sides of the fence. So I think these are conversations that we need to have, and especially with the Israelite community, we have to develop critical thinking skills. And critical thinking skills comes first with patience. When you get impatient, and you're fast, and you're not really digesting what you're seeing, what you're reading, and you're not contemplating. Every single time I come across a scripture, a documentary, something that it fits my narrative, like, oh, this is the scripture I was looking for. I'm going to prove this guy wrong. Watch. I pause. I sleep on it. I read it again. I look into the Greek, into the Hebrew. I look into other translation. I try to prove myself wrong. I look, does this say what this is saying? How can you debunk this? And once you start challenging your own doctrine and see where there's a crack in the armor, where can you adjust it if you need to adjust it? And if you challenge yourself, and after you challenge yourself, you still believe what you believe, okay, that means your doctrine is based on solid understanding. So I just hope that these conversations, and I hope we have more conversations about this, because I think with the whole Charlie Kirk thing, I don't know who took him out. They say they caught the guy. We'll see. But people are waking up, and I believe that people are now realizing, oh, snap, the son of perdition is this guy. Oh, it's always been these guys. Wherever they go, there's always some drama. And I'm not dismissing what, our beloved European brothers are doing here, whether they're Esau or Japhet, or a mix of both. But those small hats, that's what we have to focus on. We don't dismiss, these white races. There's a white racist dude that is on in the internet. And I'm like, he looks like an undercover. Small hats. I haven't proven it yet. So we have to be very careful. And I'm not saying that white people have to calm down, because you're right. It's like when they get angry, they'll use the N-word. It's like one of those things, like, I don't think they even thought they were saying that before this. Like it just came out. And sometimes that happens. It's like You haven't been with a situation that you call somebody something that is sensitive to them. Like, let's say your friend is overweight. You call them fat. You fat. In the middle of an argument, be like, "Yeah, what's going on?" Right? You limp. You got a limp. You got a droopy eye. That when people usually the truth comes out when you're angry, drunk, or rich.
Can I challenge? Can I challenge you on that, Elder?
Please.
What I would like to challenge is that equivalency, because it's so crazy was actually you started to go to this direction because I want to ask a question. Can there be forgiveness after something like that? But then you get the equivalency of like having a fat friend and calling him fat. But I just don't I think that the baggage that comes with that word and I think the baggage and the history that comes with that word, it's not fair or it's not responsible to try to equate it in the area of calling someone fat. Calling a fat person fat.
No, I hear what you're saying. And I'm not saying, listen, I'm not saying just if a white person who is a white friend is angry at you one night and he calls you the N-word. It doesn't mean, you got to forgive him and forget about it. No. Sometimes, see, I'm a type of guy, I give everybody a chance until they violate my trust. But what I'm saying is that when you meet another person, right, it's like, women, right? They'll date the bad boys all through high schools and the rebellious years. And they want to meet a nice guy. They're so tempted because they've been dating bad boys all their life that they bring in all that drama from the past into this new relationship, right? Same thing.
Yeah.
And the way you have to kind of look at it, I'm going to give
get it.
Yeah, each white person, right. Each white person, you give them the individual. And if they fail you, if they come short, then you walk away. Right? And so on. Because I have plenty of time I have told white people that are, within the religious, when I was with GOTC and I used to talk to them, I was like, my problem is trusting you guys. I love you guys. I have to. It's a commandment. If you come in, I have to accept you. And it was funny because the person, when they were calling me, I almost knew that they were going to bring in the whole, I think I'm from the tribe of God thing. And I beat them to the punch. And they were like, oh my God, this guy is not one of these dudes that I can't just run this story. I think I'm God, elder. And then that doesn't work. Then they're from the tribe of Dan. So if you just are transparent, and then if they get offended and they want to leave, then it's on them. But at least you are saying, listen, I got to accept you because that's a commandment. But listen, I don't trust you. And why? Look at the history. And yes, I do believe that some of the history that has been created to white people should be associated with Jewish people, like slavery, and funding that and being the progenitors of that. But, and I'm not excusing the Irish, because what happened with the Irish, they were, the Irish were like the N-word of the European community. And what happened is like the Boston Tea Party were Irish, African Americans, so-called, and Native Americans, so-called, coming together and fighting against the culprit, the people that own the tea companies. And who owned the tea companies? The small hats. So what they did is they separated the Irish and put them in a position of overseeing Black and brown people. That's why traditionally a lot of the police officers in the police station had those Irish, instruments and culture, because a lot of them come from Ireland. The small hats put them in that position, the elite, to separate Black and white, and it worked.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things being played behind the scenes to develop what we know today as the white man, to develop what we know today as the Black man. We have to reject these titles. That's our brother Esau. You should not abhor him, meaning you should not have this profound hatred that you cannot even stand the sight of them. And I'm not saying that they have not done things for us to feel that way, but we have to give every single individual at least the opportunity. If they drop the ball, right, if one day, they get angry and they call you the N-word, that's just time to say, okay, I'm going to go where I'm appreciated, not where I'm tolerated. Shalom, brother. We have to give everybody a chance, because then in the day of judgment, no one has an excuse. And I land with that. Anybody else wants to add to that?
I just want to say this last thing, brother Daniel, and also other brothers and sisters. And I've asked this question before. Have anyone done you more wrong than you done did more wrong to the Most High? And is he allowing you to wake up the next day to give you another chance to get it right? So if you don't want to forgive these people on earth, then how do you expect the Heavenly Father to forgive you when every day we did something wrong against him? I'm not saying, or just have this stupid trust to be like, well, I'm just gonna bring y'all back in like that. No, I ain't saying be silly now.
Right.
But I'm just saying we gotta be honest now. We done did the Most High stupidly dirty. We done angered him. We done did some very nasty things towards the Most High, and he done forgave us. And he's allowing us to get it right.
Right.
So for our brother Esau, let's try to allow him to get it right. I mean, allows those who want to get it right. That's only the right thing to do. We can't say that we royalty, and we can't say we royalty according to the Most High, and not have that in our mind, body, and soul. Because look what we done did to the Most High. Was it not our people who voted for Barabbas versus Big Brother? Yet our Heavenly Father forgave us. So we gotta see the Most High shows us who we are. Oh, so y'all want to treat me like this?
Yeah.
Oh, so y'all want a king now?
Yeah.
Go down there and tell them what happened if they're gonna get a king. Well, we tell him we still want a king. Oh, so y'all want to choose a man over me? Fine then. Let me show y'all jokers what y'all finna deal with. Remember, we angered him to wrath.
Right.
And he spunk our behind. He still tearing our behind up. He turned his face away from us. We did him way more dirtier than anybody on this earth have ever done us.
Amen. When our Messiah was in the cross, our people said, let his blood be upon us and our children. So, and to go back to this conversation between Jacob and Esau, we have to understand we are brothers, but we are twins, but we are paternal twins. We are two different people. We see the world differently. And this is a message to white people. You have to acknowledge that. You cannot just ignore that. You cannot ignore that your bloodline goes back to that heritage. And there's a connection. There is a love-hate relationship between your brother Jacob. That is going to come out when you're angry and you're going to call him the N-word. But you have to take that extra step to say, you know what? I have to acknowledge that it's there, that tension, because the two sons were what? Fighting in the womb. For what? Supremacy. So when a white and a black person go in a room, they're sizing each other up. Who's going to be the leader in that community? It's just a natural thing. So we're not going to be able to fix it until we acknowledge it and say, we have to acknowledge it. And it's now we're going to be talking down to the white man. You listen to it. No. there needs to be a leader. There needs to be a face. There needs to be someone who is leading this thing, and God Almighty has ordained the Hebrew Israelites, which we are. And I'm not apologizing for that. I have seen too much evidence in my lifetime to show that we are the people of the book.
Yep.
I'm not, we could be. I don't, even if you may even want to challenge the 12 tribe chart, I always tweak it, whatever, right? Or we have to constantly look at it and make sure we had it right, and so forth, so on. But even without the 12 tribe chart, I could prove I'm a Hebrew Israelite. Right? So you could prove that you're a Hebrew Israelite. You go, and the number one proof, before we go into the books and the DNA and the history, the prophecy of what's going to happen to the Hebrew Israelite. Deuteronomy 28. That is the blueprint, the thumbprint to identify the children of Israel. And there's no other people that went through what they went through other than the people here in America called African American, Latino, the indigenous people. We're going through these curses. And the good book is telling us why. So if you want to come in with that understanding, Esau, Moab, Ammon, all the other nations, the Canaanites, the Israelites, everybody's welcome. But you got to come correct. There needs to be a head and there needs to be a tail. And what our big brother said, the first will be last and the last will be first. We've been last for a long time. But God Almighty is going to put us first. And then we could have these conversations, these uncomfortable conversations. We could get somewhere. Right? So I appreciate you guys for allowing us to have this conversation. Thank you, Brother Ricky. Thank you, Brother Daniel. You guys are welcome anytime. And I just want to remind you guys that God Almighty is with us. God Almighty is going to protect us. We're going to see this through. Christ is coming soon. And remember, Christ is King. Shalom.